So a lot is going to change, and it's going to change rapidly. I think the need for control in aerospace from the governments, from the shadow government, is very strong because the veil is thinning and because the narrative wants to be controlled. And for those of you that are connected to contact, you understand there is no threat in terms of these beings. The only threat that has always existed in ET contact was by the government. And the majority, I have an experiencer group at Hybrid Mother, International Experiencer Group. I'm working with experiencers for 15 years now. And what I have understood is that the majority of parasitic contact is by the government. These are covert programs that are interested in DNA as well. And they have many genetic alterations and modification programs in the government, which target highly advanced DNA lines.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. We have a very special guest lined up for you today, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together. Leslie?
Hi, I'm Leslie, also known as Light Being, Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. I'm your co-host, and we are very happy to have Geraldine Orozco here with us today. Would you like to say hi, Geraldine?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your time with us today. And for our audience, step into the infinite with us as we welcome the extraordinary Geraldine Orozco, epigenetics psychotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, medical prana healer, qigong instructor, and intuitive life force cultivation master. Geraldine's journey from corporate entrepreneur to multidimensional healer is nothing short of transformative. After a life-altering interdimensional contact experience, she awakened to her ability to map the multidimensional body, decode ancestral memory, and receive profound downloads about the structure of the universe and human DNA. Through her groundbreaking work in DNA reprogramming, Geraldine bridges science and spirit, merging epigenetics, energy cultivation, and universal law to help others release trauma, reclaim their life force, and step into the higher states of consciousness. Join us for a deep, illuminating, and empowering conversation that explores what it truly means to awaken beyond the physical and consciously evolve as a multi-dimensional being. Geraldine, that all sounds amazing. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to diving in.
Yes. Speaking of diving in, did you have anywhere specific you wanted to start the conversation, or should I start with a question?
Yeah, please go ahead. Whatever you'd like, wherever you'd like to go.
Okay, great. So you've described a fully conscious interdimensional contact experience that changed like everything for you. Do you mind sharing that story with our audience and explain how it expanded your understanding of reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2013, I went into retreat for about 4 or 5 months. And in those 4 or 5 months, I was deep diving into meditation. And in the process of this meditation, essentially, I began to unpack my core belief systems at the very root. And that's where I began to question, after looking at my emotional roots, going all the way down my ancestral lineage, down to the very beginning of my incarnation of my entire ancestral lineage, I began to notice that there was something more, something beyond that, something that was influencing the structure of our reality on planet, as well as our human DNA, our genetic origin. I noticed that there was a missing link, essentially, to what is driving the construct. And that is where I began to understand that the question was non-human. The question was non-terrestrial. It was something beyond, and it was something in between, let's say, the higher consciousness, the field, and us. And so at that moment, in 2013, on October, actually, I was just one Friday night, I went to bed like normal, and I was awoken at 3:33 in the morning by an incredibly brilliant light that came into the room and essentially woke me up from sleep. And as I look around, the entire room is flooded with light. My blinds are closed. I get out of bed. I walk over. I see the time. The time is exactly 3:33 in the
Love
morning.
that.
No, I got chills.
First time in my life that I see those kinds of sequential numbers. And I didn't understand the meaning yet, but I'll explain to you in a minute a little bit more about that. But essentially, as I walk to the window and I look through the blinds, my body becomes paralyzed. I'm taken through the wall. I can feel my body dematerializing and then rematerializing again on the other side. And essentially seeing the white light and being invited in by these tall beings that I'd never even imagined in my entire life or even seen in a film or anything close to that. The level of advanced technology and the kind of form that these beings take. They were kind of like very tall, 7-foot grays. And you see, there's thousands of grays. So, this is a very tall, slim-looking gray. There were 6 of them that came to invite me on board the craft. And as I go into the craft, I am being shown a technology that is completely conscious. It's a sentient technology. And I am shown a series of information. And I won't go too much into detail because it's a long story. Okay. But essentially, I am taken to the planet Maya, where I am introduced to myself and 2 different timelines where I was Pleiadian. And in the planet Maya as a Pleiadian elder, I was a leader of certain information. And then in another timeline, I was a female where I was teaching and instructing some information. And the way that they communicate essentially is in universes. They communicate in massive systems of information that are multidimensional. And so that was shocking to me to understand. I was also shown an alien language that was very much mathematical, numerical, and frequency. And it led me to understand a telepathic form of structures of light that these beings interact and communicate with. And I was also shown and introduced to children that were my own. And they were a combination of my genetics and some other genetics that were not necessarily all human. And so that was shocking to me. And I didn't understand how I couldn't remember that I had had children or I participated in the creation of these children. And it woke up a major wake-up call and into understanding what is these altered states of consciousness that we are navigating in. But essentially, they instructed me on the structure of the universe down to the molecular level, how the universe functions, systems of cyclical patterns of exact mathematical complexity that creates each human and this construct in which we live in. And that is how I began to understand a concept of unity consciousness. And I experienced it for the very first time, being in this space essentially and connected to the beings, to the Pleiadian lives, simultaneous to those children, simultaneous to my human earth life, and being one with everything. And as a result of this experience, I woke up consciousness at the end of my bed, and my body was shaking. It was hurting as if I got hit by a truck. And, I began to call the hospital. I began to call the police. I didn't know what to think.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I was running through my mind, okay, let's walk through this. Exactly what are you going to say? I was taken by aliens and there's alien babies. And, it's like...
Right.
They're going to be like, mental hospital, speed dial.
Psychiatric ward. Yeah. So, I hung up and I thought for a moment and I said, okay, I need to process this. And essentially, this happened on a Friday night. All of Saturday, I slept until Sunday. And then Monday morning, when I'm going to work and I'm, I had a very high-end event planning company, and I also had a meditation school. And so my first student came in to meet me in the morning, and I could see nothing but lights, just brilliant lights. I could see the energy systems in her body. I could see and feel her emotions, her thoughts, what she had for breakfast, where she was going, what she was thinking, the problems that she's having, what's happening in her organism and her organs. It just completely ripped wide open. And I had sensitivity to electromagnetic fields and lights. I mean, it was 3 months of extreme sensitivity where I could even hear my neighbor 4 houses down speaking, having a conversation in their kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And I could see through walls. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
That must have been hard to integrate.
It was very hard at first because it would literally, I would go to the grocery store and I could just thousands of voices and the sensitivity of people that were there in the store and even outside in the parking lot. It was a lot, and my skin would hurt. It would literally hurt to have that level of sensitivity. Wow. So, for another 3 months, I just hid back in my house, processing and meditating and actually studying myself, because I could see myself on a different level. I could see my own energy systems in a different way. Oh. And the study of that really helped me map out, as I mentioned, this multidimensional body that we have, not only of myself, but my students. So I began to learn energy systems in the body, piecing together how it functions, the connections between the organs, the connection between our subtle energy bodies, and the effects that this kind of interdimensional experiences are having. And in 2017, for the first time, I did a hypnotherapy. And in the hypnotherapy, and these hypnotherapies are all public. By the way, you guys can watch them on my website. But essentially, I am uncovering the memories of experiences that I'm having since I was 5 years old. And in depth, because I knew I had experiences at 5 years old, but I didn't really understand what was happening. I didn't know the word alien. I didn't know the word beings, and I don't use the term alien, actually. I use interdimensional because that's actually what they are. And so these beings that I've been in contact with, I've been in contact with many different kinds, and I've had anomalous pregnancies through my life. So, then everything started to make sense. And so I began to channel information about the origin of the human race and how humanity was seeded here. I was shown that humanity was seeded by 3 main bloodlines, essentially, non-human necessarily in the way that we understand, like the ape concept that we're coming from, an evolutionary system. It's actually a more complex system of evolution. And so, so that's where it started. And essentially, what I was shown was a complete rewriting of history, a complete rewriting of everything that we have ever known. And the understanding that our DNA as the blueprint, as a holographic system of information, is one of the most important, valuable systems of data that are essentially functioning as portals, interdimensional, intergalactic, you can say, portals to what we are, which is really universes in this little shell. So it changed my perception about absolutely everything. And that's how I began. Yeah.
Talk about like an ontological shock moment. I mean, it sounds like this experience like not only rewrote like human history and your understanding of everything, but then how to operate from that point forward, because you can't like learn and gain all that knowledge and understanding and then just like go about your day like you don't know it. Like right. I feel like it's like one of those things, like once it happens, it's like, okay, you're forever from that moment forward changed.
Exactly. And, the amazing part of that was that when you begin to see things from the perception of harmonic order, which is what I was essentially readjusting all of my perceptions back into a perception of harmonic order, you begin to see the inversions of nature in everything. And boy, it's a rude awakening, because even the things that you think are innocent in this world, even the things that you deem as even spiritual concepts, you begin to see the little threads of confusion. And it's pretty amazing. But you start to kind of change and live in a different way, more in harmony with nature than ever before. And I think that brings health, vitality, and a connection to the divine that is incredibly, you can't, imagine, you can't fake that. You can't create that, manufacture it. I mean, it's something that is emerging from an understanding. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, like, if I had that sort of experience, I would be like wanting to shout what I know from the rooftops or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of person that would want to like let everybody know. But I mean, at the same time, like, I'm saying that without having that experience. So I don't know how I would react if that ever did happen. But I just imagine that it would feel like a large weight of responsibility, almost having that amount of knowledge. Like, how did you integrate it? That's probably a really big question. But like, what'd you do with it all?
Yeah, well, it was in steps. So I guess that was the biggest event in 2013. And then it kind of hit myself for several years, because I was in partnership. I was going to get engaged, have the white picket fence story, and I was still along that line, kind of unsure. And my partner at the time was like, don't even dare talk about this. People are going to think you're crazy. My family also, even though they're experiencers, they were concerned that, it would just ruin my reputation. But in 2017, I made I have a lot of very special, powerful life experiences that direct me. A hawk came to me, and the hawk basically essentially showed me that my life was going to change.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
The very next day, I had the hypnotherapy. The very next day, I quit my job. The day after that, I quit my job. I sold my business, ended my relationship. And I was like, this is the path I need to take. But it was several existential crises that I need to reintegrate, because you see, one thing was the interdimensional beings, which such intelligence, such presence, the human feels disempowered in that state. We feel powerless.
So small, probably, right?
Yeah, you feel very disconnected from that level of self-mastery, because it's not something that we are used to. It's not something that, we have no examples of that. We have some avatars like Jesus and Buddha and these kinds of avatars that unfortunately have been conceptualized and mixed into religion, which is nothing near real true information of that. So there's a lot of confusion that we have to parse through. And so after these hypnotherapies, I did several hypnotherapies. There are 7 hypnotherapies that are public, and I'm channeling information about the structure of the universe. And I went into information about DNA. My information kept coming back to DNA, because that was supposed to be my focus. So I went back to school to learn the connection between somatic psychology and what's happening to us psychologically, and the connection between that and our DNA, essentially, because I became a clinical hypnotherapist because I couldn't understand how I was channeling the word Anunnaki when I had never heard the word Anunnaki before.
Wow.
A million words and concepts that I've never touched or read about, So that field of information, which is infinite, once you connect, you can connect to any kind of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took several years. In 2018, I had a near-death experience.
Oh.
Yeah, let's hear that.
I don't think I knew that part. That's new to me.
I don't know if I did either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had 2. Yeah, I had
2 of them.
We love near-death experiences, not that the people go through and the whole thing, but the fact that, yes, we are spiritual beings having a, temporary human experience. It's just that is proof. Near-death experiences are proof for me enough anyway.
You're absolutely
sorry.
right.
I just went off.
No,
so tell us, can you share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your near-death experience?
So what happened was that, and this is part of what I'm trying to tell you, that the existential crises were so much that came to a point where I felt quite isolated, because I felt like there would not be anyone in this world that could share my understanding of reality.
Yeah.
And I began to think, what's the point of living and continuing in the physical vessel in this state of connection. I mean, there was no suffering, there was no emotions. It was the 0 point. It was the embodiment of the 0 point. And for the average human that has a nervous system that has years of, of a memory of that kind of excitement of the human experience, it's quite a change. Of course, I've been meditating for, 20 years already before that, so I had already been working on mine. But even though it was quite a contrast and it felt very lonely, because it was like, who can understand this level? And I began to think, what is the point of existing here? So I manifested this death experience where I was in Mexico. I went to visit and see the pyramids in Tulum.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm walking through these powerful vortex energy systems. I start to have memories of lives there and other experiences there, my friends that were there as well. And boy, was it powerful. And I start to have a heat stroke. Oh. But I know that it's not just a heat stroke. It's an energy sensitivity to this place. Okay, so I'm having tunnel vision and having like other visions at the same time. It was crazy. So I'm sitting there drinking a ton of water, and by the time we leave that place to get out of the heat because it was super hot. Tulum. I don't know if you know, the pyramids are about 2 hours away from actual Tulum. So it's jungle. It's just, jungle all the way in between. So there's nothing. So we're driving down, and of course we have to stop by the bathroom because we just drank a ton of water in the middle of the jungle. And I go in and I feel a little poke, but I don't pay attention to it. By the time I walk to the car, my hands are bubbling. They have bubbles, like bubbles. I don't know why, but bubbles all over my hands, all over my feet. And my tongue starts to swell up. I start going into anaphylaxis.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
There's no EpiPen. There's no hospital. Yeah, it's just, and so my friend is driving 150 miles an hour, and, we get stopped by the police that see what's happening, and they're like, oh, my gosh, yeah, she's having an anaphylaxis allergic reaction. You need to run to the hospital as much as possible. So we run. They alert all the policemen. But I couldn't. My throat was completely closing, and that was it. And I'm in the car. Next thing I know, I look down and I'm seeing myself next to my friends in the car, driving like crazy in the highway. And I'm seeing my body. And then I look back and I realize I'm dying right now. And as I'm entering into this field of light, first thing I see is my grandmother appear with a basket full of bread, and behind her, my ancestors. My mother, my father, I'm being shown their reactions. I'm understanding the impact of my death is going to have on them and a bunch of people that I'm working close with. I'm beginning to notice, and then I see a gigantic scorpion, which is the scorpion that bit me, in front of me. And to the side, I'm seeing all beings. Yeah, all these beings.
You were bitten by a scorpion?
That's right.
Oh, I was wondering what caused the anaphylaxis, but go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. I missed that part. The police that saw the bubbling and the reaction that I was having identified it as a scorpion bite.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed that part. Yeah. So, but as I'm entering, I'm seeing this red scorpion that is here. And I am hearing telepathically this voice that's telling me, I'm asking, right? I'm going through all these contractual understandings of how I ended up here, looking at my ancestors. I'm also seeing all of the deaths that they had in the similar way that I'm having. And I'm asking essentially, why did I end up here in this death? Well, how did I end up in this kind of experience? And essentially, they're showing me that I had been questioning life. I had been questioning death. I had been questioning what's the purpose of existing in the physical form at that state. And they're basically showing me what I'm supposed to be doing here on the planet, why I have that experience. And, and as soon as I begin to understand, they ask me, are you ready to go back? Because they're showing me many different timelines. They're showing me a potential next lifetime. They're showing me what's going to happen if you come back. And all of a sudden, as soon as I understood the contractual agreement, it goes really deep into the breaking of primordial blockages of our creative life force. Essentially, even our sexual energy. There was a confusion about sexuality, about how to use sexual energy, being a spiritual being. And that's when it clicked. Everything that I began to understand about holographic DNA, about the hybridization program, about humanity, about, everything. It just clicked in 1 second. And once I understood it, I understood what I was supposed to do. So immediately I was brought back into my body. And it felt like, I had been pushed back and I could breathe again. And, somehow we end up in front of the hospital. I don't know how long that took.
Okay.
My friend said that it was somehow we got there in like 20 minutes, supposed to be 2 hours. I don't know what happened.
Wow.
Time. I just have that entire time. Next thing I know, we're getting close to the hospital and I'm regaining consciousness. Yes. And then I went into the hospital. The doctor was surprised. They said they don't know how, I made it. They clearly saw that there was a death event, or there was a moment where my heart had essentially not a cardiac arrest. I don't know what it's called, but essentially your heart stops, and they can see the variations of that. So, it was just shocking. And I myself didn't understand what was happening. But anyway, that experience just completely changed my perception of life and death and the purpose of living. And it immediately linked back all of these experiences, interdimensional contact with death, and also DNA. That's where I began to understand. And as a result of that experience, I began to paint, actually. I had this insatiable desire to paint. And I also began to speak light language in a way that was very, very interesting. It was a formulation of creating geometric forms, and I could see them and communicate with them. So it just opened another level of language, of telepathic communication.
Is light language similar to the alien language that you said you saw in your experience that was similar to like math?
So we call light language, I guess they coined that name, I suppose. I'm not sure who originated that name, but essentially it's the movement of your voice as vocal sounds that creates geometric structures of light. Okay, so we're made of light. We are light. And when we're speaking, we're always creating vibrational forms. We don't see them, but you develop that vision. And that's essentially what we're doing. In these higher dimensional realms, communication is telepathic mostly. But when you, some dimensions, the higher you go, even sound becomes a form. It creates geometric structures, and you can see them. You can move them. You can change them, and they're used a lot in some higher dimensions as healing, because your entire body is actually a structure of light, and you can move the energy in the body in order to open pathways, block pathways of energy, and heal the body. So is it like the language that I saw? Not exactly. That language. Okay. That language, it looked like nothing that has ever seen, and I've researched all languages here, but they speak in universes, and the language, even though you can see words, it's still telepathic. You will still feel images in your mind with whatever is being shown. So different. Okay.
Thank you for answering that. I've always wondered that. I remember the first time I experienced light language.
Digest just now. You really had a lot of experiences, and I do feel like it was tied together, and like the near-death experience, everything was probably linked into, push you or put you, on the path that you're on now. And, you're on social media, and you do a lot of sharing this information. So thank you for finally coming out and not being worried about, what a lot of people experiencers do worry about, and that they're going to be considered, mentally unstable or whatever however you say that. But anyway, as far as DNA, DNA reprogramming is such a fascinating concept. How do you describe it to someone encountering the idea for the first time?
So essentially, we want to take a look at an understanding of what epigenetics are. Epigenetics, essentially, you have your blueprint DNA, 2%, which creates all the protein that writes your physical body. But what we used to think was that we are tied to our DNA, in that you cannot change if you have hereditary cancer or some hereditary illness. You cannot change that. It passes down to generations. And you remember in the early 2000s, people were getting surgeries ahead of time to prevent the potential possibility that you might have cancer.
Yes.
But what this link of somatic psychology and the physical energy body, this deeper understanding has led us to understand is that we can change that, because it's about the environment that you create in your physical body. And so we can turn genetic markers on or off to either create an environment for illness in the body or create an environment for healing in the body. So epigenetics would be how the environmental influences are adjusting and changing and shifting those genetic markers. So when we talk about somatic healing, we're talking about what are the elements that create an environment for healing in your body. And so we are very divine, complex beings of light, and we are operating by a certain harmonic order. The more we come out of harmony, the more we come in disharmony, we have illness and death in the body. And our human bodies are essentially, they are toroidal fields. Okay, we are made of energy systems, energy vortices in the body. We have the main chakra energy systems, which are simply the endocrine system. Right. These endocrine systems, they're connected to the organs, they're connected to the fascia, they're connected to the nervous system, they're connected to the etheric body. And so in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, we talk about the meridians. And so when those are blocked, we have acupuncture, we have qigong. I studied all of these schools to better understand these kinds of energy systems so that we understand how to open them. The connection is really in the emotional body. Why? Because we are bioelectrical beings. And in addition to being bioelectrical, we're biochemical and we're etheric. And so there's a direct connection between those things. In any one of these layers where you have disharmony, that's where you're going to find the root of illness. And so what I do is I work with people, and my primary work isn't necessarily with illness. It's essentially looking at any kind of emotional, energetic blockage that you have in the body. Okay, so these are things, what is carried down are the patterns of how energy is held in the body. And that's the most interesting thing. In the same way that we pass down trauma generations after generations, let's say from World War II or even before that, we're still playing out those same programs emotionally, psychologically, and they formulate and they create our organisms. So we want to learn how to deprogram those core belief systems so that we can open up energy in the body again and essentially allow for healing. And the more we learn how to come into harmonic order, which is essentially the cultivation of the 0 point. The 0 point is the non-judgmental observation, the observer. The cultivation of the observer is the key. It's the key to longevity, vitality, the activation of higher faculties. And this is where we start to basically essentially have interdimensional experiences, which is natural. It doesn't make me special. It makes nobody special. This is natural. And we've been experiencing it since the beginning of time. We are deeply, deeply connected to our star brothers and sisters, which essentially the human race descends from. So, so essentially this is how I would present it to a beginner, first time listening to this work. But there is a tremendous amount of both scientific papers, psychology, research. We have the Heart Math Institute that did some beautiful work on the connection between the bioelectricity and DNA, essentially, how when we are in stress states, DNA literally coils up, knots up, and it can't even express itself fully. Immune system is down, so much. So when you start to come into harmonic order, into peace, meditation, now you can have your full expression. So this is really, I think it's the future of science. It's the future of medicine. It's the future of psychology. And it's the future of spirituality, because it is where these systems are merging.
Yes.
Awesome.
I agree. It's amazing. And everything is connected. And as far as the DNA, I would assume doing the clearages and healings, clearages, I think that's a word, but anyway, clearings or whatever. But, doesn't it affect your other, whole multi-dimensional self and the other lifetimes? And I mean, they say the ancestors, generational, like, so it's not only gonna like affect your life and this physical human life and this perspective that you're living, but all the others, and apparently you're opening up to have pathways of being aware of those other selves and other dimensions and everything. So not only it goes multi-dimensional, it sounds like, as far as the
absolutely
reprogramming, DNA reprogramming. Okay.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. That's exactly right. How does that function? So our DNA, the 2% that writes the protein of this incredibly complex body that we don't even understand yet. There's so many parts of our body and the functions that we have. We're very primitive. Our biology is very primitive. Our medicine is very primitive. And so, what we're mostly cycling through in order to maintain illness in the human race, we're simply repeating patterns. Okay, so in this matrix, what we call the matrix, essentially the construct of this reality that we share, we are repeating programs over and over again. And these programs were designed, socially engineered into the subconscious mind in order to create certain kind of limitations. Okay, limitations of thought, limitations of personal power, limitations of creation, limitations of self-healing, all kinds of limitations, which used to be taught by ancient mystery schools in the beginning of time. Those ancient mystery schools talked about how our human bodies, they mapped out the energy systems because they meditate, connect, open up their vision, the real vision, in order to see the structure of the body. And so our human bodies operate in a very beautiful divine order of cyclical patterns of evolution. We are all evolving. Whether you like it or not, you are evolving. Now, how you stay in harmony with that evolutionary process is up to you. The more you contract and resist parts of your own growth, your shadow, your truth, your growth of any kind, you're going to slowly block the flow of infinite potential that flows through you naturally. And that's how you begin to cultivate sickness. It can start with a soreness in your shoulder and then turn into a cancer. Okay, so what happens is that the blocked energy begins to crystallize. It crystallizes in the body in such a way. And every single trauma that you've had, it doesn't have to be a severe experience. It can be your mom not looking at you when you needed some attention in one moment. That could be the seed of a trauma. And in that little seed that is kept, it becomes a memory that is essentially a point of blocked energy in your field. These blocks, they don't disappear. They don't go away. They are with you and they are within you your entire life until you address them. And so you can imagine that if you would see your multidimensional body, it's what we call the morphogenetic field. What scientist Michael Levin has now discovered is that memory is bioelectrical. And you see, this is what I received in 2017, what I saw. And I did some research to try to find everywhere somebody that could corroborate that scientifically. And I found him. I found Dr. Garayev. I found Dan Winter, who was talking about advanced physics and advanced biology. And Dr. Michael Levin did a beautiful work where he is showing that these memory systems are within the morphogenetic field, which is your aura. It's your multidimensional body. The morphogenetic field is essentially the instruction manual that allows form to take. So it instructs how your finger is going to write the DNA up until this point, so on and so forth. So along with that are many other multidimensional elements. So what science is going to catch up to next is that what we think of junk DNA is essentially the communication system of the morphogenetic field, the bioelectrical memory system that is recording your memories, not only in waking state, by the way, also dream state. Okay, because our experiences, we are constantly moving in and out of many dimensions. And so the more that we become conscious, as Leslie was mentioning, this is where we're recovering memory. the recovery of memory is the activation of DNA. Okay, so the more you recover memory, what do you recover? First, you recover your memory of all the traumas and the experiences in this lifetime. Okay, so I have gone through every single day of my life from birth until now, and I have integrated those fractals.
Wow.
That's how I develop my intuition. Second, you're going to start getting past life memories. Why? Because a lot of what you're repeating in this lifetime, you're repeating from many other lifetimes. And so you start to recover those memories. And third, you will start to recover your starseed memories, which is essentially, your interdimensional DNA, everything that connects you, that you have in your DNA for centuries and generations. This is how I discovered that essentially we are hybrid beings. Within our DNA, we can have many different kinds of species that we know here on Earth: Pleiadians, Arcturians, reptilians, draconians, you name it. We actually have a little percentage of all of that in our DNA, and most of it is dormant.
Wow, that's the first I've heard that.
Yeah. Well,
is it? I feel like I've heard that. We are basically a little bit of all the alien or interdimensional beings and races.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's becoming more common now. And I hope so, because some people, they attach to one species, but anytime that we become identified with any one part of ourselves, it's a death. Because the truth is, we are all and nothing simultaneously. And I think this is very important for humanity to understand, especially as we're entering into period 9 right now, where all of this memory is going to start becoming activated for masses, for the masses, really.
You made my eyebrow go up when you said period 9. I'm like, wait a minute, what's that? Is that like the end of the Kali Yuga? Is that the
Great
same
Awakening?
thing?
Yeah.
2025 year is a 9 year, right?
That's right. 2025 is a 9 year, which is endings. It represents karma. Last year was number 8, which is infinity, repetitions, and also the repetitions of karma. But this is now the embodiment, the ending. It's catching up those loose ends. Next year will be year 1 of 25,000 year cycle. And so, so this is, and yes, I mean, the Mayan calendar talked about it. Many different calendar systems around the world have talked about it. And this last weekend, I was talking more deeply about this because, our calendar system has been also inverted. It's come out of order, actually. We actually should have 13
months. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Because there are 13 main planetary influences, 13 main genetic lineages that we hold within our memory. And we mainly are managing 13 main dimensional planes that we navigate in dream state. So, we're kind of out of order right now. And I do hope that in the next 20 years that will be corrected. But what is happening inevitably is that the veil is thinning. What does that mean? Vibrational frequency is going into a higher octave. And that is for everyone on this planet. The entire planet, the entire solar system, this universe as we know it is going into that. This is a dimensional plane. And so as we are entering into that, what has always existed around us will be more visible to us. We have a certain human spectrum of light, which is expanding. Okay. And so the invitation is that at this time, we cultivate a very good meditation practice to start to develop gray matter in the brain and down the spine in order to become more conductive. Okay, so this is the bioelectrical element, essentially. Yeah. The more conductive you become, the more you are in harmony with natural order, this ascension I was talking about, which is natural. We are able to align with those frequencies in a more harmonic way. So that's basically ascension. I mean, if you can teach yourself to be in the 0 point, this can be a very beautiful and expansive experience.
It makes me think of being in the state of flow, which is something I just came across with Bashar had mentioned. It's like these glyphs, but one of them is flow. But I mean, to be in flow it makes you think of the toroidal field. There's nothing stopping it. You're just at one in that state. And I don't know, I'm going off, but you're that's amazing. Everything So I had a whole thought process, but I lost that. So,
oh my God, I've had so many thought processes going on so far. I mean, like I'm wanting to ask you so many things. Okay, let me just spit out a few things that are rattling around in my brain and see if you want to pick any of them up. I wanted to ask you about the fact that you mentioned that your family is also experiencers, because I've heard this theory that like through genetics, through family lines, these types of experiences happen, and it's for like some sort of DNA reason. So I was thinking about that. Then I was thinking about like Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza and the conversation around telomeres and how we can elongate them through meditation, and how like junk DNA is not really junk. It's just kind of dormant from like other ancestries that we've had. And there is a way to wake them up and make them undormant, make them, like active again. And I'm wondering like what we can do to prepare for this like next cycle, because like we always like to give our audience not just like things to think about, but like tools in their toolbox to utilize. So like any of those things, if you want to pick up on any of those, that'd be great.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was going to mention is the 3-eye atlas. Is that what it's called?
Oh my God, I was going to mention that too. That's so funny.
Like, what were your thoughts like on that?
Yep. You read my mind. We're telepathically connecting here.
Excellent. Yeah, no, amazing all questions. Let me see if I can make sure I cover all of them.
You don't have to cover all of them. You could just pick one.
Okay. Well, let's see. I guess there's a parallel between the 3-eye atlas and also this evolutionary process that's happening right now, because so the idea is essentially planets they're beings of consciousness. They're living conscious beings, just like we are.
Right.
Gurdjieff used to say that essentially we evolve into planets. And what I've seen is that we evolve into solar systems and universes. I mean, I've even had a life of being a sun. I've had a life of being a solar system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And all of us have at some point. And the purpose of that is to understand this level of interconnectivity. But also when there are objects in space, which we know as space isn't really what we think it is. It's not what NASA or has been taught to us in science class. It's very different.
Okay.
These are more like dimensional constructs that are within us, actually. Okay. So when we have anything foreign that is moving through something, think of this solar system as a body, just like our physical body. It is the solar system is a fractal. We are a fractal of the solar system, and we have this
micro to the macro with the.
That's exactly right. Yes, and so every single one of our chakras is connected to these planets. When something enters into our space, it is a shifting of frequency. That's the baseline. You can understand now what is happening with this new energy coming in to this solar system is the beginning of the activation of DNA. In 2017, I was shown that there are children that will be coming when Pluto goes direct, which is at the end of this month. I was shown the Plutonians are coming. Okay, so I saw that entire wave of a new essence of consciousness is entering into the solar system, in addition to a new wave of children that are going to be born. And so the children that are going to be born with this, with the presence of this being, this new being that is moving through us, is essentially activating DNA in a very powerful. It's going to be a time jump. It's a time jump in the evolutionary process of humanity. So we're going to be receiving children that are highly, highly activated, that they already have 21 strands of DNA available to them. Most of us were born with 13 available to us if you touch them, because most people usually get up to 7 max. Most everyday person that doesn't get into spiritual work or any shadow of any kind. Those of you that are already working, you're already navigating many things consciously. The key is to do it consciously, because we're all navigating everything, but we just don't remember. And again, one of the signs of ascension is memory. They say that when you remember, you recover your memory of who you are. That's when you are experiencing ascension, essentially. So yeah, that's one element of it. And essentially, it's creating a wave. And when the sun also has tremendous amount of movement, as it's had for the past 5 years, you see the sun is a portal. And the sun is interconnected through our plasma and through our DNA. Every time that there are movements in the sun, it means our DNA is being altered in a very powerful way. And I can attest to that physically because even myself, I got affected by these solar changes, by the eclipses that happen. Some people can be very sensitive to these cosmic movements. So we're going to be seeing
I was also affected.
You were?
Details. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I actually want to hear all about it. But yeah, I do. Because my clients were just 911 calls for like 2 months before and after.
Wow.
As we're going through these eclipses. And what it's showing me is that there is an activation of DNA and people are opening up a higher level of consciousness. This 3i Atlas is bringing that and it's passing through this system, activating this new stream of consciousness and activating DNA. I also, from the government side, okay, so we're going to talk about that, but I believe that also a lot of this information is also being utilized by government for disclosure. And I don't know if you are close on the disclosure talk, but
we actually produce a weekly show about UAP disclosure.
Yeah.
Where is this hat from?
Probably, that's amazing. So you guys probably know more than me even.
Oh, no.
But essentially, we've been having the hearings, which, I've been watching very closely, but essentially the thing is that I do believe that we have a lot of technology that will be put out as a result of these comets and foreign objects. And there will be several agendas where these systems will be utilized and taken advantage of in order to promote war-like technology with space. And that is coming. That's coming like yesterday. It's already been done. There's a lot of amazing advanced technology that has already existed. Half of the UFOs that we see in the sky are terrestrial, and they are from governments, from our Earth's governments.
Yeah, alien reproduction vehicles is what
ARVs,
Exactly. So, most of these are AI and robotic, but nothing will replicate the real thing. And that's really important to understand because you can tell pretty quickly. And you guys are experiencers. You guys know, this level of technology that is from these beings, it is conscious, it is telepathic, it connects to not only the neurons, like they have technology that connects to neurons now, but it's not like that. It's conscious, so it's a sentient technology, and it also changes form beyond our understanding of physics. So I'm actually going to be doing an entire episode on alien technology this week.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
We're going to really deep dive into the advanced technology systems of these beings. And it differentiates from all that's going to be shown from our government. They're going to try to pose that as real alien technology, and it's not. And you can tell pretty quickly for those that have experienced it. So a lot is going to change, and it's going to change rapidly. I think the need for control in aerospace from the governments, from the shadow government, is very strong because the veil is thinning and because the narrative wants to be controlled. And for those of you that are connected to contact, you understand there is no threat in terms of these beings. The only threat that has always existed in ET contact was by the government. And the majority, I have an experiencer group at Hybrid Mother, International Experiencer Group. I'm working with experiencers for 15 years now. And what I have understood is that the majority of parasitic contact is by the government. These are covert programs that are interested in DNA as well. And they have many genetic alterations and modification programs in the government, which target highly advanced DNA lines. So
it makes me think of the GATE program and
100%.
It also makes me think of what Dr. Stephen Greer says, because he mentions that a lot of the nefarious activities are humans, posing as
he does say
NHI.
that.
So we collectively, us three, we have probably over 100 CE5s under our belt.
Oh, way more than that, I would
And I've never once have I ever been scared. Have I ever experienced anything negative?
Nope.
It's always been a positive experience. And I would say more often than not, probably at least 75 to 80% of the time, you get tangible results that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Yeah, because it's a frequency thing.
Right.
It's a consciousness thing. It has nothing to do with technology necessarily. I mean, we're interconnected with these beings. And so, what is difficult in this line of work is re-educating our own UFO community, because there's a split, in the ideas that, the ET is scary or it's parasitic, and there are like Dracos and things like that. But I think, a lot of these Draco parasitic beings are part of the government, and they're also induced. There's a lot of chemical inducing of experiences that look like they're ET contact, but they're actually not. That's chemically induced. And I've had those experiences myself, which is what I wanted to tell you when Leslie was saying, you're so brave for coming out. It was not easy, because I was also targeted in the beginning. But I don't talk a lot about that because I don't want to give that power, but I do provide the support, and I know how to alchemize and protect and cloak yourself from that. Again, it comes back to the spiritual work. Mm-hmm. And this, like, deeper you go down the UFO rabbit hole, is consciousness, because that is the pinnacle point of where these worlds meet, and where we need to re-educate ourselves, because your control and your mastery over your life force is your protection across the board: terrestrial parasitism and interdimensional parasitism. Why? Because parasitism comes from within, which is a difficult thing to understand. We have to deprogram parasitic consciousness within our own DNA ancestrally in order to alchemize out of those timelines of experience that cause suffering and fear. And so those of you, all of us that are in this field, we need to pave the way for that, because the average human, the masses that are waking up to this, what kind of existential crises are going to happen. Yeah. And so, what I have been shown is that from now until 2027, we're going to go through some major basically, it's the destruction of the dismantling of the old system in such a powerful way. And from 2027 into 2037 will be the beginning of a new, completely societal model. The invitation is this: there is a split in our society. One direction, we are heading towards transhumanism. The other direction is towards the activation of conscious organic technology. What's organic technology? It is the centripetal movement of your bioelectricity. The more conductive you become, the more telepathic. And so right now I have a lot of classes to teach telepathy, remote viewing, because this is going to be the new basic toolkit for the humanity. As you mentioned, what can we do? Yeah. We need to train. And I created an acronym called GPAC, which it means grounding, protection, alignment, and co-creation.
Oh, I'm so here for this. Go on.
Yeah.
So these are really advanced energy mastery techniques. Grounding. So first of all, because you're an extension of the earth, and because of how the solar system is intercommunicating, the earth is like receiving all the solar data. So actually we receive memory and solar data activation by the sun. Okay, and that's done through the plasma. So when we're disconnected from the earth, it severs and cuts off our connection to massive amounts of information that we require and come into harmonic order. So we need to anchor into the center of the earth and connect to that visually, mentally, emotionally, and with our presence. So that's grounding. Protection is about owning your space. You're going to visualize yourself inside of a bubble, and you're going to reprogram yourself that the only thing you can control is what's inside your bubble, and you're going to learn how to master that, which means that you can take your emotions from 100 to 0 in 1 second, and you learn how to process and feel emotions fully. You acknowledge your emotions, you process your emotions, and you work with your trauma in vivo, in the moment, as it's happening. Okay. So that's awareness. You're also choosing what you allow to affect you. Your emotion is one of the most powerful currencies of energy that exist on this planet. We are manipulated through sex. We're manipulated through our emotions, fear, any kind of level of fear or disconnect from the self. And we're manipulated through the illusion of disempowerment and disconnect from the spiritual aspect of ourselves. So we want to take back that power. That's all the lower chakras, root, sacral, solar. The bringing back of that power is the cultivation of alignment. So the next letter, alignment, you can learn how to control your chakra system. So the chakras, for majority of people, they're wide open or just out of balance or overactive, in survival or fear. So we need to learn how to gather that energy. Now, the chakras create geometric patterns in the body for light to move. Okay, so essentially we can embody many kinds of platonic solids, the same pathways, energetic pathways as platonic solids we can hold in our body, which will allow us to navigate higher dimensions. Very basic is the Merkaba. Okay, and the Merkaba is the redirection of our life force, depletion from the body. So the attention to the external is the depletion of your life force. The gathering of your life force will help you create something called the Merkaba. And this goes into really deep things, which I teach a lot on my YouTube channel. You guys can join the YouTube to learn about this stuff every week. But essentially, we are closing or shrinking down the first three chakras, opening your heart, your throat, your third eye, and activating your crown, which is your center of manifestation, and perceiving your experiences from there rather than from down here. Most of our perceptions are from the lower chakras. And that's why we can't go beyond our understanding of anything. And so finally, co-creation, which is the C, which is the crown. This is your higher self. The seventh chakra, it's also the connection to the DNA of the earth, which is your ancestral history. Okay, so when you clean out ancestral trauma, you enter your body enters into a higher octave, and the higher self can now take place. Okay, so activating the crown and illuminate it with something called a creative color. There's a color frequency for your higher self. And when you understand that, you put that on every day, and that with intention is what you live your life. So you're intentionally embodying your higher self. And so this changes completely the way that energy is moving through your body. And you are breaking karmic contracts every single day in order to co-create with free will, essentially. Okay, so the system, I teach it in depth. I have entire certifications for it, but I also teach it every week in my channel that you guys can learn.
Yes. Do you mind if I ask you at this time, since you're already talking about it, if you could share with our audience where they can find you online, drop your links, and let them know what you got going on?
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you guys want to do either a hypnotherapy or DNA reprogramming with me, my website is GeraldineOrozco.com. If you're an experiencer, you can join the free group at hybridmother.com. And my YouTube is Geraldine Orozco, and social medias too. So you can connect with me, and I'm so happy to assist in any way.
Oh my gosh, you are amazing. I'm sitting here so taken aback by your whole experience, all your integrations, all your teachings, the way that you look forward towards the future, and how you're empowering both experiencers and people that are preparing for this next phase in human evolution. I mean, you're just like a rock star, girl. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I could literally sit here and listen and talk to you all day.
I got so many questions.
Right. So I have a famous question that I always like to ask of our guests.
Oh, yeah.
What is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
My greatest hope is that we go in the direction of organic technology, and that we need to focus on re-educating ourselves and our children, the next generation, on connecting to the divine, connecting back into harmonic order, because the opposite direction is essentially that we become completely dependent on AI, on technology, on the robotics, which are going to change societies. And many people will lose their jobs, which will leave them questioning, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? This is a necessary part of this evolutionary rewriting. It's happened many times in histories. Every time civilization reaches a pinnacle point, we are being called to look at the true essence of our existence. And that's happening again. And so those that are informed are kind of have to take some responsibility and hold space in order to help guide those that are lost and don't know. And so, but to do that, we have to practice telepathy. We have to practice remote viewing. And everyone can do that. I have these groups. It is so much fun. We do it once a month, and there is not a single person that doesn't have a gift to do it, not one person. So, this is essential that we train in that, because what I see in the future is an incredible society where it's not that we get rid of AI. We need to use that because we need to change the old models, all of the old destructive models towards the planet Earth, the way that oil is being used for everything. That is a very archaic concept that has to be rewritten. And we need to use this new technology to help support the new model. But we have to do it. It has to be in the right hands. It has to be done with responsibility. And above all, with the integrity to the planet and to the vision that humanity is sovereign in the process. So that's super important. And I hope that for the future.
Oh my goodness. I look forward to that so much. I was just talking to him this morning about how I have a lot of anxiety with a lot of the things that are going on Earth right now. And most of it is specifically tied to the treatment of animals. And I'm like, how can we make people care about the fact that there are like NHI available to us when we can't even get them to care about the animals that are already here? It's like I was struggling with that. So I really appreciate hearing your perspective and seeing your enthusiasm and how you have all these tools ready to go. You have your website, which I will have on the screen and in the video description box below. So if people feel called to work with you, they definitely have that resource available to them. And like I said before, I just think you're a rock star.
Thank you. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for doing this work and putting this information out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, to quote the
Before we do go, let me get that thought out because I was hanging on to it the whole time. But I feel like it's important to note, that we are all creating, whether we can either do it consciously and realize, the power that we all hold and how we are basically attracting into our lives and our experience the things with our thoughts and our emotions and all that. So it's either we can do it consciously, which I think is part of waking up and ascension and all that, or do it unconsciously, which is what the masses have been doing, is creating from the place of lack and fear and all that stuff. So anyway, be conscious creators.
100%, Leslie. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing.
Oh, you're amazing too. And I can't help but point out that our show is called Living Life Consciously. So just saying. I think it's a very...
I feel like I should share the synchronicity that happened. So en route to my spot to do this recording, I'm listening to, I think, a video. It was 12 days ago, but it's something about we are light. We're light beings. I forget your title for your video, but we are light, basically. But it was, I was enjoying it, listening to it. I'm listening to maps, getting to where I'm my destination, where I was gonna park for this because I am in a car. Anyways, but so the street that led me to the parking spot that I had picked out, which I wasn't familiar with, I turned onto it, and it's Geraldine Street or Lane or whatever it is. I took a picture of it. I even pulled over because I'm like, well, what? I'm sitting here listening, I'm about to talk to you, okay? And I see a sign, with your name. And then, I'm walking back to my car after I snapped the picture because I'm like, I'm gonna tell them, and I want to have the evidence, in case we add it to the thing. But and then you're literally talking about something, a new era. And right where I parked on the fence line, there's a construction company called New Era Construction. They're like, literally everything is connected. I mean, I just don't doubt that at all. I see it all the time. And we are in, something.
Definitely.
Oh my God, Leslie, I cannot. That is so amazing. You have to send me those pictures too, because that is just amazing. Or tag me on it when you share it, because that's so cool. I love that.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know what? That really speaks to the fact that, and I always say this, that everything is communicating with us all the time, but we just don't pay attention. You know, we're unconscious, as you mentioned, but when you're awake and you're connected, it's the signs are everywhere, and it's
exciting. It's like you end up being so grateful, and you're just like smiling, I'm laughing, whatever. It's like, okay, I'll take it. That's awesome.
Yep. Right. And to make this full circle, it goes back to even something as simple as the time that you were woken up with your experience at 3:33 in the morning. That's an angel number. It's like when they also kind of call it the witching hour, when the veil is supposedly the thinnest. So it's like, yes, I love all of these things. I think it's really cool that we're all like on this planet together, alive right now in this moment, because like you said, Geraldine, you know, there are people that are going to be waking up to this kind of thing soon. And it's literally going to be like up to people like us, like literally us, to help guide them, because we've already gone through these realizations and integration. So it's like we're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but you know, hey, we are kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. Would you agree?
100%, guys. I have so much love for you, your souls, and the clarity that you have with what and why you're doing what you're doing. So
thank you.
An honor. I hope we stay in touch and hope
again.
Me too. I hope you can come back on sometime.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Alrighty, and for our audience that's watching, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good words. All right, Geraldine, we close out this show with a little 3-piece thing that we do. I'll show it to you real quick, and then if you are available to join us, we would love for you to join us. We do much love, peace, and namaste. You down?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Much love. Peace. I love that one. And namaste.
Namaste.